Hello everybody, this is Pyra, and in my last video, I went over the top 6 things that I do every time I log into Final Fantasy XIV and my sort of kind of daily routine anytime I log into the game. And with all the love and support that I got for that video, I thought that I would also do my weekly checklist. So this is kind of, I guess, more of a housekeeping thing that I will do every week. It is not always at the same time every week. However, it is a bunch of weekly routine things that I do to stay on top of reward, gear, and buffs without forgetting anything in the mix. So without further ado, let's get into it. So number one thing that I do, and this is kind of also dependent on when the newest Alliance raid came out, when there is a current tier of the Alliance raid, I will run that once per week. So there are multiple reasons why. The first reason why is because there is coins. Right now it's kind of coins or a weekly drop that you can get that can help with certain gear upgrades once you've collected a certain number of those. Another reason too is at the beginning of when Alliance raids come out, you can get a gear drop once per week. Once you've gotten one, it locks you out for the rest of the week. And so I make sure that I at least do my Alliance raids once per week because it kind of feels like a lost opportunity if you don't get the gear. For myself, because I am an Ultimate and Savage Raider, the newest Alliance raid at the moment, which is the second walk, the Final Fantasy XI collaboration, the gear is not best in slot for me for my current setup on Black Mage. However, for alt jobs, alt classes, as well as for some glamour options, I do try to get one piece per week, and sometimes I will just try to get anything as long as I get something once per week. Now, thing number 2 that I do every single week is my Squadrons. I go visit my Squadrons. I know sometimes people forget about them, but one of the things that they do better than I think any other piece of content with the Squadrons is their buffs. So you can set them out on missions to get you the equivalent of a grade 3 FC buff or a free company buff. And so these buffs are only on I believe it's a 2-hour timer. However, it is the maximum amount of additional perk that you can get, the additional buff you can get. The ones that I like to get a lot would be the Gold Saucer VIP cards, as well as the Squadron battle manuals. There's everything, pretty much anything, most anything that you can get from a free company buff, you can get in Squadron battle manual or Squadron manual format, and you can either get them in stacks of 5 or stacks of 10. I always try to get the stacks of 10 when I can. However, of course, you do need to tool your group, your squadron, to try to run out for these missions. And once you deploy them, they will try to come back and get you this reward. Of course, sometimes it fails, so sometimes you have to do this multiple times in a week. However, the one thing that's really nice is that these are stackable, and like I said, it gives you that 15% of a buff, of a bonus for certain things. Certain ones with like the crafting and gathering manuals are 20%. You get an extra buff for 2 hours. And one thing that I love doing, and I actually have it up on my screen right now, one thing that I love doing is using it in conjunction with free company buffs. So right now, my free company has proper care as well as a meat and mead for food duration up. And so when I do my normal weekly Gold Saucer stuff, I like to also have my Gold Saucer buff up at the same time, so that if there's a couple extra things that I'm doing that maybe not align with the FC and like the buffs that they need, you just kind of toss open a Gold Saucer VIP card or whatever else you need here, and you get that extra additional buff in the works. And now tip number 3 is going to be with tomes, capping your tomes weekly. I will say that this is a weekly routine that falls off for me. So I start out at the beginning of, like, say, a raid tier or new patch, getting this goal met, and then sometimes when the raid tier kind of fizzles out, I will not worry about this as much, but it is something that is good to try to remember to keep as a weekly habit. It'll show you right here the newest tomestones, what they are. Right now, it's the Algan Tomestone of Mathematics, and you have a a capable amount here. 2,000 is the most you can hold at one time. However, per week, you can only gather 450. So once the 450 are capped, you can no longer get any more of that tombstone variety at the moment. And the reason why I try to get this capped each week is that A, as somebody who tries to do raiding and endgame content, it is very necessary to get the gear that you need. B, it is a nice way to get alt jobs geared up. So kind of like the alliance raids is just a nice thing to add into your weekly rotation so that you can get some alt jobs leveled up, geared up so that they can kind of do the best that they can do within your means. Moving on to tip number 4, we are going to go to Idleshire to go get our wondrous tales for the week. Now, this is something that a lot of people, I think, forget about as time goes on, but Wondrous Tales is a really great way to get certain things, especially EXP. So you visit Chloe Alipo. Is it Alipo? Tell me if I'm saying it wrong in the comments below. But you visit Miss Chloe and you receive a new journal from her once per week. And so you have this once per week. It can technically extend past a Tuesday. So if I get it on Monday night and resets Tuesday, I believe I still have time to finish it before turning in, and then I would be able to get a new one in that new week. And so Wondrous Tales, what you do is there's a series of fights that you get. You need to kind of collect 9 stamps. You get a stamp per doing these random duties here, and this is the rewards list you can get. So there are experience. I think if I change classes to a low level class, it'll hopefully show me my experience that I would get. Yes, it will. So I would get, in this case, over 6 mil experience just if I were able to get my 9 seals on the journal, which is a requirement of completing one of these. Also, you can get a time-worn Gargantua skin map, which is at this time the newest map out there. And if you're lucky, if you end up getting kind of like a bingo situation, if you get certain lines worth of stickers, you can get extra things such as more tomes. You can get MGP. You can get these really cool silver, gold, bronze, or gold certificate of commendation, which can get you some really cool, unique things right from Chloe's shop here. So it is good to just try to keep up with these once per week. This is a really great way to get some extra leveling in and some great little bonus gear and perks. And moving on to the next step, this is really only going to be, this is kind of your bonus tip. This is really only if you are an FC leader or an FC officer, or kind of whatever your free company allows. But depending on what your status is in your free company, I make sure to buy free company buffs every week. And so I don't have to do this necessarily for the entire week. However, I like to just get it out of the way and buy a batch at a time. So you can have up to 15 inactive actions in the chamber at a time, as well as the 2 active actions. And I will just go through and buy the ones that I know my FC uses every week, just so that I'm not teleporting here every day that we need something. I know for myself and my FC, we're a small FC. We just mostly do things for raiding and for our raid nights because the majority of us are a similar static with each other. However, I'll kind of get a little bit of everything. So I like getting reduced rates for teleportation fees. Meat and meat, of course, helps increase the duration of food effects by 10 minutes. Proper care slows gear wear. You can get almost anything, and I just stick with the grade 2 FC buffs. I feel like the grade 1s, if you're starting out in the game and your FC is fairly new, that's a really good one to have. It's solid. However, if y'all are more seasoned players, it may not be the best. So for me, I just fill this up right here with things that I know my FC needs, and then when it is time to log in and kind of get ready for the day and say the buffs are down, then you can go right into your free company, right into your actions menu, and everything is there ready to go. And for this next tip, you will need to go to the Doman Enclave and Authored. And I will say, if you have not completed the MSQ and Stormblood, skip this step, skip this chapter, go to the next one, because this is a spoiler at that point. But if you are here, you should go visit the donation bin. So once you've gotten the Doman reconstruction progress all the way up, you can visit the donation basket just south of the Aetheryte in order to take part in this really cool system that the game still has from Stormblood. So, of course, like I said, Doman Enclave words are hard. Doman Enclave Reconstruction. I always want to say restoration because the Ishgardian restoration things, but this is the Doman Enclave Reconstruction. Once that is 100% ready to go on your progress, I believe, you can turn in items up to 200% of the sales price. So once you go to the basket, this is a once a week thing you can do. You can turn in your green gear. So pretty much anything in the game, pretty much. The things that I like to turn in are green dungeon gear, things that I don't need, kind of random drops that come out, and then whatever your retainer would have sold them for or a different market vendor, you get 200% of that sales price up to 40,000 gil. And so what happens is once a week, you can just kind of put anything you want in here. It'll give you double up to 40,000 gil. Like, it's not a ton of gil. However, to get rid of like random dungeon drops, you make something back. So it's just a nice way to make a little bit of extra gil on top of everything else you're doing. And my final tip is kind of a setup tips. There are 4 things that I do every week in the gold saucer to just stay on top of the MGP, so I can kind of get a nice bit of MGP without really farming for that in the gold saucer. The first thing is, of course, like I mentioned, putting up that gold saucer VIP card. That is the first thing that I will do before doing my weekly things. And I end up doing my weekly things every Saturday after the jumbo cackpot ticket has been picked. So I do this because it is kind of the prime time to make use of this extra VIP card buff. And the best thing about it is you can get several thousand, at least at minimum 3,000, even if your numbers are awful. It's the jumbo cackpot. It's like a scratch ticket, kind of, or like a lottery picking number thing game. I gamble totally, you can tell, but you can get 3 tickets per week, and then they draw the numbers, and then depending on what numbers you pick, how much it may or may not match up to the sequence of numbers, you will get some money, and you can get MGP from there even if you're a loser. And you get more also if you're an early bird and you partake in receiving your winnings earlier than later. So I always start with that first, get that down under my belt, usually right after my raid nights on Saturdays. From there, I will do a fashion report turn-in. So if you go, where is this? The Wonder Square. If you go to Wonder Square, there's a vendor over here called the Masked Rose. And once per week, you can talk to the Masked Rose and present yourself for judging. You can also confirm this week's challenge event. There is this really cute like game where you can try to guess what pieces would fit best in here to get like the best score possible. There are a lot of really great YouTubers who cover this and tell you what items to use. I believe Mioni is one of them. Definitely go check him out if that is something that you are interested in. And the thing that I want to tell you that is kind of a really big tip is you do not have to dress up for this. I will go in the gear that I have and you still get like 11k MGP. So if you just want to like do it quick, just walk up with whatever gear you have on and you still get that like 11k MGP. It's a really easy way to just get some extra MGP. So I do that every week just to make sure that I can get some free MGP when I can. And then the last thing that I do in the gold saucer is Kuffaker. So I will actually play Kuffaker 3 to 5 times, and this is a super easy little mini game in the gold saucer. And the thing that's the best about this is A, it's an easy mini game. Some of the mini games are a little bit trickier, and B, by doing 3 to 5, there are a couple of the weekly challenge log things that you can do that it bangs them out of their way really quick. So if you go to logs and then challenge logs, it'll show you even. This is a really good way to get some extra EXP, gil, etc. And for the gold saucer, by completing 3 mini games, you get 1,000 MGP on top of whatever you won from that mini game. And then if you earn 100 MGP for mini games, you get another 1,500. So sometimes it's just nice to do those 2 things. And while we have the challenge log up, just talking about the challenge log real quick, I guess if this is your bonus, number 8 things you can do as a weekly routine, opening this is a really cool way to get extra, like I said, EXP, MGP, gil, etc. This is not something that I do every day anymore, every week anymore, as a more seasoned player. Like, this doesn't do as much for me. But if you are a newer player, or if you're a completionist, or if you have some time on your hands, this is also a great way to just take extra perks, take advantage of some extra perks by either getting some extra EXP or getting some extra gil. So it's really nice to like look through the challenge log and see what ones may align with you. That's kind of how I got to the gold saucer ones, is just knowing that it was an easy way and I just kind of work it into my routine and what fits best. And so that is it for my weekly checklist in Final Fantasy XIV. It's pretty quick and easy, and honestly, it just keeps me moving forward without getting overwhelmed, without having to do too much fussing or anything like that. Let me know in the comments below, what do you do every week? What's on your weekly routine? Let me know. I'd love to compare. If I missed anything, I would love to add some new things into my routine. And thank you so much for watching, friends. If you found this helpful, hit the like button. And if you like more Final Fantasy XIV news, tips, tricks, guides, etc., hit the subscribe button. It helps a lot for my channel to grow. It helps me. I do everything from rating to normal casual content, everything in between. If you like my vibe, I'm also on Twitch all the time, so come hang out, join the chaos, and we will see you in game. Bye!